Forcible removals were not a new notion in America. At the height of the Atlantic slave trade, an estimated 80 million Africans were forcibly removed from Central and Western Africa as slaves. Those Africans who survived the unspeakable torment of slavery relied heavily on their ancestral spiritual traditions and in a new land adapted other beliefs. 400 years after the first African captives reached the shores of the U.S., half of the black population in Washington, D.C. were free men and women. While under constant attack by their own government, some of these men and women risked everything to become a part of the growing anti-slavery movement.
The history of Mount Zion does have importance to the wider Washington, D.C. community because it's a good thing. And so often you hear about the bad and the negative of the black community in Washington, and Mount Zion is a positive side of Washington.
It is that instilled pride in those people, the ancestors. It's almost like you would hear in when I go up to the cemetery. I feel the spirit, and I feel it's like they are there touching me.
Some of us old people will be gone, and I'm hoping that in spite of our leaving, our young people will see the value of a church that has such a history.
You know, I want to be a part of history too. I want to continue the chain that started all the way in the past and bring it towards the present.
Mount Zion's past includes participation in the Underground Railroad, a vast network of people who helped fugitive slaves escape to the north and to Canada. This covert effort helped some 100,000 slaves escape to freedom between the years of 1810 and 1850.
They used to come up to the Rock Creek Park on barges. At the bottom of 27th Street was the largest mill on Rock Creek, and the mill was right behind the cemetery. The original Mount Zion Church, 2 blocks or a block from the cemetery. As those persons worked on the barge, they decided they wanted to escape to freedom. They oftentimes went over and hid in the cemetery. So it made sense for those persons at night, when they wanted to feed people who were part of the Underground Railroad, who were trying to escape, was to really go carry food over to them, put them into the vault where they could stay for a while, and then usher them along the trail of Rock Creek Park up to Montgomery County, further north, up to the Mason-Dixon line in Philadelphia.
I like to tell my students that my church played a vital part in the Underground Railroad in Washington, D.C. And I've even brought some of my school groups here to Mount Zion.
The records of Mount Zion in 1830, along the persons who are part of the Methodist Church of Mount Zion, they have the road. By a lot of them, they say they escaped, they went over, crossed over. These little notations that let you know that people escaped on the Underground Railroad.
And I can't imagine some of the things that went on about our great ancestors and you know, how they started this church and all about the cemetery and everything. And I know that if they could do with that little that they had, that it's our job to carry the legacy on.
The century that followed the end of slavery would witness countless acts of state-supported terrorism targeting African Americans. Inspired by their ancestors, the congregation at Mount Zion found ways to work for civil and human rights.
I remember vividly the time, Martin Luther King's time, when we housed some of the people who came up from the South. They came in and slept, and we furnished food for them.
My parents wouldn't let me go then. I was alive, but there was in maybe trouble, and so we don't want you to go, you're too young. My parents went.
we were kind of startled, but we got into the movement. I remember everybody bringing the food here so that they could come and eat, and the church doors being open, and the people sleeping upstairs and downstairs.
And I remember my parents and other people's parents meeting here to go and march at the embassy.
I was lucky enough to get arrested, but after we marched, we would come back and we'd eat and talk about it a little bit.
I think the willingness of our members to go through these various experiences and still remain through their families and their connections loyal to the church, and to continue to send their children and their grandchildren and the great-grandchildren to maintain their linkages with history, I think is very, very significant.
The members at Mount Zion believe in their connection to the past. Each year, a libation ceremony is held on the grounds of the historic cemetery. The African ceremony is a grounding spiritual event that honors the past while uniting present and future generations.
In the world that we live in now, especially in the schools, you need some type of foundation that will, keep you and sustain you through all the type of things that come your way. Always discouragement and other stuff that could stray you away, but I think my faith and my connection with Mount Zion keeps me where I am.
I think that it's important that this history, as a positive history, be carried on and should be taught to our people, because one has no sense of direction in life if they don't, of where they want to go in life, if they don't know where they came from.